the service of reconciliation, peace and justice. The church is in Africa at the service of reconciliation, peace and justice. At the service of reconciliation, peace and justice.
Hi there, good people, and welcome to our program, The Church on Social Communications. And of course, the program, The Church on Social Communications, explicates the concept of communication from faith-based and professional perspectives. And of course, you know that the program guides us on the use of the means of social communication according to the mind of Christ, the perfect communicator, and as directed by the church and taught by professionals in the field. In today's edition of the program, we are one of such professionals in the field of communication, whom we will be having a discussion on some of his latest outings. We take a break, and in a jiffy, you will discover our guests in this program today. My name is Singfred Senior Msone Tata, welcoming you to our program, and of course reminding you that DMR TV is always there to bring you blessings from the foot of Mount Fako, reaching you on radio and television with the light of hope. Stay tuned.
Peace and justice at the service of reconciliation. Peace and justice.
The program on the air is The Church on Social Communication, and as I told you, we have a very special guest. He's a novelist, he's a poet, he's a journalist, he's a motivational speaker, he's a prolific author who has written over 500 very serious and knowledge-loaded publications. He is a seasoned educationist. He's an engaging and enlightening speaker. Since 1980, he lectures and visits in the U.S. Navy base in Virginia, U.S. Navy base in Germany. He's a UNESCO fellow. He is a professor of international communication, a former chair and graduate school professor in the Department of Communication, Jackson State University in the USA. That is just a bit of it, because if we continue, this program will finish with only us bringing about his profile. He is a very loaded gentleman, simple, humble, very available, with so much passion and love for the church. He is a communicator, as I mentioned already, and that is why he is in this program. The program that, in one aspect of it, explicates the concept of communication according to professionals in the field. He's one of such professionals. Welcome, Professor Emmanuel Ngwainbi. Am I calling the name correctly?
Yes, you are, and thank you very much, Brother Sinfred. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm quite humbled with the opportunity given to share some of my thoughts with this great Catholic community, and why not members of other communities around the world.
Yes, and we will be talking about two of his publications. A book which he co-authored with Reverend Father John Berignoy on Archbishop Fulton Sheen. Of course, we know Fulton Sheen was one of the first tele-evangelists in the United States of America. We remember him very much in pastoral communication as one of those who started doing this thing even before the church came officially, and talked about communication in the Second Vatican Council in his first document, Inter Mirifica. Fulton Sheen was already there, and the book is titled Archbishop Fulton Sheen, The Contemporary Humanist. We'll be discussing about this book, and of course we will discuss also about this one, social media, youth, and the golden and youth, social media, youth, and the global south, a comparative perspectives. These are publications by over 14 scholars. The book is edited by no other person than Professor Ngwainbi, whom we have here. You know the worth of this kind of publications. We'll be discussing that. But before we go to that, let us discover more about him. Professor, can you tell us a bit more about yourself? Maybe what people don't know about you and what people know. Maybe you add more to it, so other things I don't know. But more specifically, tell us more about yourself and your passion.
Thank you very much, brother. I'm very humbled by the introduction given to me yesterday. When you started talking, honestly, I was wondering who you were talking about. But given that it's all fact, because it's online, and fact for various reasons, I thank you for sharing that introductory message about me. My name, of course, is Emmanuel Ngwaimbi. The middle name is Kombam, which in the language of Kom means the Kom people are, well, great, for lack of a much stronger word. The name was given to me by my father, the late John Ngwaimbi, who was a primary school teacher in Bali and in Kom and in other parts of the country, and served his country very proudly for some 55 years before retiring. He passed away, and Papa, this is our moment. I just want to thank you for giving me the chance to be in places like this to tell the world some of what you taught me as a child. Emmanuel Ngwaimbi schooled in Bali, government school Bali, and there's quite a bit of Bali in Emmanuel. That's me. The culture I enjoy very much. The
you
food,
speak some Bali?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And of course, I went to St. Bede's College, Ashinkom, from 73 to 78. Classmates, if you're out there, I say hello. Of course, all Sabesans, hello. And then I went to Cass Bambili, and through the University of Yaoundé, where I got my bachelor's degree. I was supposed to do something they call maîtrise, but the United States was calling. So I went there on scholarship and spent a few years there receiving some of those things they often call degrees. And before beginning to think about coming to serve my country, to teach at I think the journalism school right here in Boya.
Yes, yes. That was started by Professor Eno Tanjong.
Exactly.
Of blessed memory.
Yes, indeed. Fine program. And of course, my friend and former colleague, student, former schoolmate at the university, Francis Nyamjo and the rest.
Yes.
So I was happy to know they were doing some work here. The late Professor Emmanuel Chia, was quite interested in me coming to give some lectures here at the time, and so on and so forth. So these are the roots that I have with this area. What else is interesting about me? They know I love football. They know I play soccer. I love the team, even the national team here, the Lions in Dongtab, with all the craziness surrounding it from time to time. Sometimes they say there's method in madness. I enjoy all of that and have enjoyed teams across the board. But for you fans out there who like Manchester City and Man United, I am an Arsenal fan, a die-hard one for that matter.
Our bishop will be very excited because he's also a fan of Arsenal.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Tell Bishop we're going to go get that cup next time. We're going to win that thing.
You forgot nothing this time around.
Well, we came very close. We came
FA Cup, no title.
Don't worry, those young boys have it in their blood. You see, just hang in there with us. Perhaps you should become an Arsenal fan. Are you?
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay, please consider. Maybe when you come in, then we'll win the cup.
Surely.
Yes, indeed, brother.
Yes. Say more about your specialization, particularly in relation to communication.
Let me begin with poetry.
Okay.
Oh, that is because when I was in Form 2, I believe, I recall seeing some of my classmates swimming. I had never seen a swimming pool before, and something came upon me to describe what I had seen. So I drafted this little thing somebody once called a poem, and forgot it on my bed. And a Form 5 student found it, wanted to know who had written the book. The poem. And that is how Emmanuel's poetry background was born. Why? Because I gave myself a nickname. My classmates called me Sim. I gave that name Sim. Yeah, Sim, S-I-M.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, one of my very second poetry book is I had to use my pseudonym because for political reasons at the time. Sim Combem.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my second title. The first title was Sim's Poetic Column, published actually by an English language teacher at the time in Bamenda, Mr. David Ware, who had discovered me as well while I was in Bambili and saw that I could write poems. And I wrote 500 poems. I had published 500 at the time, coming from that first experience in St. Louis College, Sashing.
Mm-hmm.
So I take this opportunity to thank the Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, and also my classmates in particular, and my brothers and sisters who were there with me, and those who are still there. So, Ashin, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, you want to know about
Yes.
the other books, Communication.
Yes.
Well, of course, the communication books come from my background, the doctorate degree I have in mass communication. But not just that. They need to share. They need to share knowledge. They need to use the right channel, so to speak, to share that knowledge. My drive some of my colleagues call me a communicologist.
Mm-hmm.
The drive to share knowledge is so strong in me that when I write these books, I make sure they are properly prepared. What people say about them is out of my hands. But what I give them, I'm very particular about it. And that is why I believe that communication has such a powerful and very important role in transforming society. And why not the Catholic community as well?
That's very interesting. Do you, from what you have said, I can say you have not, if you are asked again to go and start studying, you will still study communication.
Yes,
do not doubt that.
I will.
Now, let's just take a break, and then when we come back, we start looking at, I say he has more than 25 serious publications. I went to his website today, and I was so overwhelmed with what I saw there. And with these ones that are lying in front of us here, you just see how serious publications are. Let's take a break. When we come back, we start discussing this one, the Archbishop Fulton Sheen, the contemporary humanist. We take a break.
Peace and justice at the service of reconciliation. Peace and justice.
Yes, in 2023, Prof, you co-author a book with Reverend Father John Berenyoy, who is currently, I think, the registrar
And the
Catholic
University in
University
Bamenda.
of Cameroon,
Yes.
Katuk Bamenda. The book is titled Archbishop Fulton Sheen, the contemporary humanist. And as I mentioned before, Fulton Sheen is the first Catholic tele-evangelist. The time he was on television, the church was questioning what should a bishop be doing on television, and I'm sure that that constitute one of his controversies. I'm sure about that. Let me ask you a question. Pope John Paul II says in his message for the 58th World Day of Communication, which was celebrated this year on the 16th of May, that the world in which we live risks becoming rich in technology and poor in humanity. And this is Fulton Sheen talking about the contemporary humanist. It is a theological reflection on his contribution to humanity and society. I may ask Day to ask you, what prompted you and your co-author to reflect on Sheen's contribution to humanity and society at the time when the world is witnessing a revolution in the media world? Things are changing so fast. Everybody is talking about media digitalization, and you are going back, you and your co-author, to reflect on Fulton Sheen, a contemporary humanist. Why contemporary? Fulton Sheen has gone. You are bringing him to the contemporary. Why?
Fulton Sheen's time, first of all, is timeless. That is because, as you said yourself earlier, Fulton Sheen has seen the power of communication. in changing lives, in bringing people. If brother will allow me to say this on the air,
Yes.
bringing people closer to God. That was his job, and he was a visionary. He was somebody who would break those boundaries for the good of humanity, right? He would do that. Pope's message, you see, is aligned with Fulton-Sheen's message, and I would say ours, that of Father John Berigny and mine. What makes it contemporary? I guess you want to ask, what doesn't make it contemporary? The point being that Fulton-Sheen looked at the psyche of the human person and realized that so-called divide was not as broad as we have been, even as his critics have made it to look like. He saw that being in the media, just like both of us, right, would be an opportunity to spread the word. You don't just do it on a pulpit. You don't just do it in the classroom. You don't just do it by writing a book. How do you spread Jesus' message? I will tell you that if I had a television station at the time Jesus was alive, I would have invited him, just like Fulton-Sheen was doing. So we stand strongly by Fulton-Sheen's use of communication, or let me say the media, to spread the good word and to also make people understand that there is a strong connection between the spiritual and the mundane, and that putting both together, you become that human person that God made you to be on your way as you prepare yourself for that final space. That's the heavenly kingdom.
If I may, what do you mean by, to be very specific and brief, contemporary humanist?
The contemporary humanist is that individual who understands the socio-economic, right, spiritual, right, psychosocial challenges in the times. We're talking about social media these days, in these times. We're talking about the media in these times. Understanding that section of man that needs to be educated using different channels, different methods of learning, and in the process introducing the key message, that spiritual wellness within this time, not tomorrow, in these times, contemporary. That is what makes him contemporary in my head.
You make me recall what the caption of the Holy Father's message for this World Day of Communication this year. He says that artificial intelligence and the wisdom of the heart towards a fully human communication. It means when you talk about understanding the human being, the humanness in us, and I see with you very much what you mean by contemporary humanist, and you have rightly argued in your book that Sheen's perspective that global economic, religious, and political crisis cannot be resolved by focusing on the mundane alone. Say more about such proposition. What are some of those things?
Let me take you back to Jesus' times. Of course, the Bible is there. It's a book of facts. Everything is there. I want you to think about his miracles. Think about what really brought people to him, right? Where were those powers coming from? Who is this individual moving around in slippers, talking to people touching him? And who was this person? It is that spirit, the spirit in the person. To me, that makes the person. It is not this, because this becomes manure, and of course this go away. Because they went to go to Bayam Salam, which is another story. But seriously, the spiritual self, we need to be able to feed that spiritual mind. And that, to me, is the type of thing that Sheen was here talking about. Of course, the senior clergies here have also been talking about. We are all aligned. I would see it that way. Now, so Jesus' ways, I'm concluding this one. Jesus' ways were the ways that were designed to educate us to really understand the power of the Spirit. And there are times when you are quiet and meditating, and also, of course, going through fasting, as we just did. Lent is over for a while. You feel it. You feel His presence. You know it. And so that's the connection I'm trying to draw here.
Thank you very much. You also talk in this book about the contemporary anthropological challenges in this book. Now, what do you mean by contemporary anthropological challenges?
Okay, so you see, look at anthropology as a term and as a way of life, as a subject of study. Look at anthropology in that global self. You realize that there are so many challenges that anthropology is facing today. You have, if I may put it mildly, researchers, right? Students of knowledge, students research. You have all these individuals who have been assigned to explain anthropology to us, but they've been given certain specific rules, and then they go and they change the truth. They change the truth, and that bothers me a lot. That's one of the key challenges in anthropology today. Another challenge I will bring up is the lack of resources to have, well-trained people to collect and share knowledge on anthropology, just to help make the world a better place.
Thank you. What philosophy and theology of life are you proposing as a solution in this? You and your co-author, Father John Berry, what are you proposing as a solution to in this book?
Well, I touched on it earlier during the first question you asked. What we are simply saying is, while we may enjoy the products, the resources, the means, the tools that God has bestowed upon us, that we don't even deserve to have, just out of His mercy. While we may enjoy that, we need to focus on feeding that spiritual self. We need to focus on feeding that, because our values, whatever we're doing here, is way insufficient. It's never sufficient. And even up to the Pope will tell you, he asks people to pray for him. And that's because there is that insufficiency in the soul. And we need to be able to work, to even use those physical tools, right? To be able to feed the soul, to prepare for a better place. Because there is a transitional stage, as you know, there is. And so between here and that final space, we need to prepare ourselves. You see how a mother prepares a child. When you're going to give birth to a child, you prepare that child. The child comes. What do you do now? You start preparing for the child to grow. This transitional period, because we are in transitional space, you know that. So how do we now prepare for that better space? If your body, if you love the way you look, right, then fix this, fix the soul, fix the spirit, so that you will be in a better place later on, when this material, when this manure is rotting out there.
Someone says that there are 5 fundamental questions in life.
Yes.
Life is, people who are living real life are searching for answers to these questions.
Yes.
You see, the first one is, who am I? The second one, which is the question of source.
The what? Source.
Second one, where am I from? Which is, where am I from is source.
Yes.
Who am I is a question of identity. What can I do? Potential. Why am I here? Purpose. Where am I going? It's when you understand, you get answer to these questions. Everyday life, you should be looking for answers to these questions.
Agreed. Yes.
Are you have already agreed? Do you accept these arguments?
Yes. Yes, as I touched on it earlier, yes, because again, look, I don't think in the present, I look at the future. This is my legacy. God has given me those tools. When I started talking about poetry, I know that was a talent. And there's so many things that even Bernard Fonlong is the one that actually told me, look, you have a lot to give the world. Focus and remain humble. I met with him. His assistant got me there, Professor Siga Asanga, at the time when I was in the university. So what I'm actually telling you here is that I would like, if you want to ask me, what can our viewers take forward? I'm going to tell them, always make sure you live a positive impression wherever you go. Make sure the last thing you left with somebody was something good. Make sure it's either something good you said or something good you did. Leave that trail.
How does Foot and Shin demonstrate that?
Oh, so many ways. Should we start? Let them read the book. I will not go. You don't want to get me started. Let them read the book, and then they will learn a lot more about Foot and Shin and how he does it. Meanwhile, the paperback version is just being produced, so it will be accessible to other people at some point.
Thank you very much, Prof. The book is Archbishop Foot and Shin, the Contemporary Humanists. The authors are the Professor Emmanuel Ngwaimbi, who is here with me, and Reverend Father John Berinyoy, who is in the Kali University of Cameroon, Bamenda. This is a book. We will tell you where you can get it. But if you contact us here and contact Katuk Bamenda, you can get this book, and you contact us the Kali University instead of Daiso Boya, you can get it. We take a break. When we come back, we talk about this one, which is a hot potato now. Social media. This is every talk is around social media. Yeah. The new Areopagus, as St. John Paul II described it.
Reconciliation, peace and justice. The church is in Africa at the service of reconciliation, peace and justice. At the service of reconciliation, peace and justice.
Well, listeners, time has caught us with this very interesting discussion, but we promise you we're going to have it to discuss more about this second book. Let us end the program, and Prof will invite him to, sign some of this book for our universities. We will do a recording of this second part so that we'll have it in our subsequent broadcasts.
Wonderful. It will be an opportunity for me to give back, to the Catholic, institution for what it's done for me and my brothers and sisters, to give something back to the university campus here, Catholic University here in Boya, and one in Bamenda. So I will sign some of these autographs for your reference section. And I want to really take this chance to thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, listeners. We end the program for today. We are going to continue with the next edition of the program. You will have Prof. And of course, we'll enjoy more about what he's saying on this book, Social Media, Youth, and the Global South. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being with you, and that is the Church on Social Communication. I am your host, Sinfred Senyo, saying goodbye from DMR TV. God bless you.